I just want to take this opportunity to welcome each one of you to YANA today at whatever time it is where you are, and knowing that we are experiencing the oneness of God in this moment and every moment. This month at Center for Spiritual Living churches throughout the world, we are looking at our powerful prayer, our affirmative prayer treatment, whatever you want to call it. And this week, we are looking at the use of affirmations and denials. I will be very honest and say that when I was going through practitioner training, we were taught not to use denials, that the mind does not hear negative, and when you say not, that our mind does not hear not, and that it attaches to whatever we're talking about. So I very rarely use denials, but I do think they are useful. And I do think they are very useful in the way that they are talked about in the Living the Science of Mind and How to Use the Science of Mind, which are the books that Dr. Holmes wrote that we're using for this month. Dr. Holmes says, the basis for spiritual mind treatment is a conviction that our life is pure spirit. The practitioner recognizes this spirit in the center of their being. This presence is more than a manifestation of God. It is God in that person. God is all in all. God is all power, all presence, all life. God at the center of the client's being is as perfect as it ever can become. He goes on to say, this divine presence has never been affected by anything external to itself or different from itself. Whatever process of reasoning we go through to convince ourselves of the divine perfection is of no particular importance. It is the realization of this perfection that heals. It is the basis of spiritual mind treatment, and it is a conviction that our life is pure spirit. The practitioner recognizes the spirit at the center of the client's being. This presence is more than a manifestation of God. It is God in that person. God is all in all. God is all power. God is all present and all life. Life at the center of the client's being is as perfect as it can ever become. Actually, I think I read that twice. But he goes on to say in the Science of Mind, it must and will respond to everyone because it is law, and law is no respecter of persons. It is around us. It is the original state, ready and willing to take form through the impulse of our creative belief. It works for us by flowing through us. This law we did not create. This law we cannot change. We can use it correctly only as we understand and use it according to its nature. Henceforth, it follows that if we believe it will not work, it really works by appearing not to work. When we believe that it cannot and will not, then, according to principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does. Only it does it according to our belief that it will not. This is our punishment through the law of cause and effect. We do not enter into it because of our doubts and fears. Holmes is saying that our prayers work because of our belief and faith. And that is a powerful, powerful truth. And sometimes we need to do a little more work to get to the point where we believe, because sometimes there is something between us and God. Emma Curtis Hopkins said that, I will tell you that between you and your good, which belongs to you and which you ought to have, is your idea of the absence of good or the absence of God. when we don't see or feel God's presence, when we do not feel that perfection that is God, that is spirit, manifesting through and as every fiber of our being, we are blocking the way. And our lack of belief, as Holmes says, may well be what causes our treatment to not happen, because we believe it will not happen. So what do we do when we are in that space that does not allow us to see and experience the truth? This is where denials are a helpful tool, because it helps us to move beyond our blocks and our negativity. It helps us to tear down that block and to be able to see and to know that God is all things through and as us, including being there in every fiber of our being. In Living the Science of Mind, Dr. Holmes uses the example of someone coming to a practitioner and saying, I am an elephant, and truly believing that this person believes that they're an elephant. And Dr. Holmes goes on to talk about how you would treat for this person who for some reason believes they're an elephant. And, we would know that this being an elephant is an illusion. And we would know in our own mind, because our treatment is done in our mind. Our treatment is not about forcing this person to realize they are not an elephant. Our treatment is to know that this person is not an elephant, that this is an illusion that is being held in the mind of our client. And we see beyond the illusion to the perfection of God expressing through this client as their human body. And he goes on to say that maybe this client says to you, because of the day and the time that I was born and the way that the stars lined up, I am an elephant. And we would then treat to know for this person and to recognize that the stars have absolutely nothing to do with this person's life, that this illusion is dissolved and this appearance of anything less than this perfect human body is released. And we see it in the mind of each one of us as the practitioner. We see it released and we see the human part of this person. And and then he goes on to say, but what if there's a whole bunch of people who believe that they are elephants because of the time they are born and the way the stars lined up? And he gives the example of a treatment in Living the Science of Mind, of how he would treat for these millions of people who believe because of when they were born that they're an elephant. Now you can see that being an elephant is sort of a silly idea, but it translates to everything else. We can really understand that this person is not an elephant, but it's not that easy always to know peace for the world or healing for our own bodies, but the same principles work. In the treatment that Holmes says on treating the magnitudes for the people, these are his words. I realize that whatever the whole race holds to be true about itself appears to be true, because thought works with creative power and with mathematical precision. But even so, I know that the whole thing is illusion, that even though thought does work with mathematical precision and with creative power, and even through countless millions of people have acted as though they were elephants and believed that they were, they have never been elephants in any time. And so he acknowledges the fear and the doubt and the thought of these millions of people who think they're elephants. But then he denies the truth of it. knowing that that could never be the truth of anyone, let alone a million people. And he sees the truth of who they are. In his heart, as the practitioner, he has faith and he knows that there are no elephant humans out there, and that these are divine humans experiencing and revealing God absolutely perfectly in any moment. And when all of us can see where we could easily deny that someone was an elephant, but the same steps are used to deny whatever it is that we need to deny, the appearance of illness, the appearance of anything less than world peace, the appearance of lack in any form. We can use these same ideas of denials and even acknowledging that the appearance is there. I had an interesting experience last week that I would just as soon not have had, and it may well be because I needed an example for this lesson, but it wasn't fun. I had to have a tooth pulled Thursday, and it should have taken less than a minute, and it took about 25 minutes because of my body didn't want to let it go. I was to the point at one time of truly visualizing an angel pushing this tooth out as the dentist was trying to pull it out. And I was sitting there thinking of all the things. I was praying, I was remaining calm, and I was watching my thoughts. And one of my thoughts that popped into my head was that my mother used to say that whenever they had to pull a tooth, they had to break her jawbone. And I immediately thought, that is not my truth. That was definitely a denial in my part, that this was not the truth of who I was, that this would release and it would let go and it would all be good. But and the reason I talk about this is when you're in the midst of that much appearance of trauma impacting your body where you can feel it, you better have done a lot of work before you got there. Because you need, or I need, maybe you don't, but I need to remember that there's God in every situation, that my wholeness is right there, that this is removed with ease, that I recover with ease, and to allow that to be my overall truth rather than the appearance and to some degree the feeling of what was going on at that moment. And we all have experiences like that, where we can get so caught up in the cause and the effect and the appearance that we forget that kernel of truth that's always there. That's so much more than a kernel, that it's all God, that the love, the joy, the peace, the wisdom that is God is ours, manifesting through and as us, as long as we remove the blocks. As long as we allow ourselves to experience our oneness with God. And to me, that's the purpose of denials, is to remind ourselves, yes, there are things that can block us, but it is our truth and our awareness and knowingness of our oneness with God that allows us to move through life, knowing our connection and living it to its fullest. Thank you. That's all I have for today.